So something that I've really enjoyed through my channel here on YouTube is the opportunity to sit down with various founders, owners, and business people in the outdoor industry. And that's what we're doing today. I've got Deed. Is it Zeigler? Is that how you pronounce your last name?
We say
Close enough.
Ziegler, but I actually
Ziegler?
think
Okay.
we mispronounce it as a family, so whatever works.
There you go. But I've got Deed, who is the founder of this brand here, RecPak. And there's a good chance that you have seen RecPak, and by now maybe like you've already tried it yourself or you've been intrigued by it and wondered what the heck is RecPak, because this is food in a pouch, right, Deed?
It
Is
is,
that is
yes.
that as simple as it gets?
Yeah, it's a nutritionally complete powdered meal. But yeah, it's essentially powder in a pouch that I designed to save space, weight, and time when you're in really remote and backcountry environments.
I
So
like it.
happy
I
to
like
talk
it.
more about it. But it's at the end of the day, it's a pretty straightforward concept.
Yeah, so we'll dig into what this is, but I think when people see like, okay, here's this has RecPak on it, it is in a pouch that has a small opening at the top. Like, what do I do with that? So with that in mind, we'll dig into those details a bit more. But I do just want to say thanks for like spending some time. I know you're a busy guy and got a lot going on. You mentioned that you're headed out on a ski trip in Chile tomorrow, right? So
Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's really awesome to connect with really anybody who's passionate about the outdoors, but especially other outdoor founders. So thank you.
yeah. So my goal with this conversation is to just break down what RecPak is, because in the outdoor space, I think there's a lot of like newcomers on the market, especially in the freeze dried space. I've got a close friend that just started a freeze dried meal company. There's like the ability to enter that space, I think, is a lot easier than maybe it had been 10, 15 years ago because of like just what's available technology wise. But I think what's interesting is you get a product like this that comes out and it's like, okay, this is different, or at least it has the appearance of being different. So I want to break down just why RecPak, what it is, and like why it was created, how it came about. I love the origin stories of businesses in the outdoor industry.
Yeah, you mentioned freeze dried meals, and when you're in the outdoors, you generally have two nutritional options. On one side, you've got snacks, your bars, your goos, trail mix, jerky, and those are all great. They're super convenient. Keep them in your pocket, but they are generally just kind of single macro. So like your jerky is protein, your bars are just generally sugary carbs. You wouldn't have a bunch of bars and consider that a meal. And then on the other side, you've got freeze dried meals, campers meals, which are higher calorie than snacks, but they take time to prepare. You got to break out the jet boil, and you can't consume them when you're on the move. They're generally like for when you are stationary, either in the morning, if you take time for lunch, or in the evening. And in general, we're not trying to take away the experience of having that meal by the campfire or at the end of the
Hmm.
day. Nor are we trying to be another goo. But what I did see was that there was this gap between having the convenience and that on the go nutrition with something that was going to be higher calorie and more nutritionally complete. And I
Okay.
realized this during my time in the military. I was an officer in the Marine Corps for a little over six
Mm.
years, and I had a couple of different jobs. But one of those jobs was leading a sniper platoon. And as you can imagine, it's kind of like mountaineering or really any other kind of multi-day outdoor or backcountry endurance type activity where you are packing out everything that you have, and every ounce matters, and you often do not have time to stop. And so it's really in those environments. Well, at the time, I was taking out powdered meal replacements. Like I think back in the day, it was just Soylent. If you've heard of that,
Oh
it was
yeah.
for like these
Yeah, yeah.
software engineers.
Uh-huh.
And so I would take out this big bag of Soylent, and I would have a shaker bottle, and it was totally inconvenient, but it was just better than in the military. You've got MREs, meals ready to eat. And so I thought, well, why don't we have a product where the nutritional formulation is designed for somebody like me, out there for days
Mm.
on end? And I just had this idea of flexible packaging, which at the time was much more popular in places like Asia, but just hadn't really hit here. So, I mean, you kind of get it here a little bit more these days with like kid snacks, or I don't know, I've seen it with like rice and stuff like that. But the idea where you just have this entirely self contained meal that, because it's a powder, you can really optimize every gram based off of what your outdoor activity is, and it saves you space and weight. And then, so you mentioned it earlier, but I've got my own RecPak right here. So so yeah, it's super flat, and it's kind of wide. We're actually getting feedback now to see if we can even reduce the size. But when you're ready to use it, you just add water through the top spout, and generally it's about 12 ounces, and it becomes a liquid, kind of a shake, if you will. And I think this is actually really unique because I don't know if there are certain other meal replacement bars and kind of a couple similar products like that, but I have never seen a liquid meal for the outdoors, which is really valuable in a couple of different ways. Because, as I said, one, as a powder, you're saving on space and weight, and then two, because you can consume it on the move, you're saving time. You're not stopping, en route to the summit, or
Hmm.
if you're on a search and rescue mission. And then lastly, because it's a liquid, you fuel and hydrate at the same time. You're getting your nutrition; it's absorbed more quickly. Um, and then lastly, you're not having this 700 calorie gut bomb in your stomach.
Right.
It's just in addition to the ingredients that we've used, which we're very selective for. It is really designed for digestive tolerance. So, for all those reasons, yeah, that's why I designed RecPak, and it is for a pretty, as I said, pretty specific use case. Like, we're not trying to take away from the experience of sitting down and by the campfire, or just getting like a super quick source of carbs if you're in the middle of an ultra or something like that.
Hmm.
But it is for those long days, generally when you're out in the backcountry or doing some sort of multi-day type activity, or even if you're doing like a long day hike as well, and you don't want to stop, but you do want something that is higher calorie and more complete nutrition. And oftentimes in those kind of situations, you just don't feel like eating and chewing and everything anyway. Like, you just want something where you can just sip, put it back in your pocket or your pack, and just keep on moving, and you can take
Yeah.
another sip in like 15 minutes. So yeah, it's been super exciting in that. I mean, obviously we were really kind of tied in, especially with like the endurance and mountain communities, but all sorts of folks. Whether I always like to say, whether the outdoors is your passion, so whether that's like kayakers, through hikers, to if the outdoors is your profession, so military, search and rescue, wildland firefighting. It's really been awesome just getting the really positive feedback about the product.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love all those angles and like how it came to be. Some of those like aha moments that happen in product development. Obviously, being in a military background in pretty extreme environments, I'll make the assumption that you were probably in Afghanistan or in that area through your military service, right?
I was, yeah, I've been a couple
Yeah,
times.
so like in extreme conditions, and I can imagine that in a lot of cases, the last thing that you want to do in some of those conditions is eat, right?
Yep.
And what I've found, because I want to get into like the nutrition of things, but I also want to kind of dial in a bit more of like who the target customer is. Who do you like? If I'm walking through and I see this next to something else on the shelf, like is this the right product for me? Like who is this focused to? But the quick story I was going to share is what I've appreciated about this in those environments is after like a long hard day of hiking, like back in May I was on a trip, and the water sources were really terrible. We had a hard time finding water. It was super hot. The bugs were really bad. And it's like 9 o'clock that we're finally sitting down to eat dinner and cook dinner. And the last thing that I wanted to do was sit and wait for my meal to rehydrate. But then also go through the process of like consuming something that maybe wasn't a flavor that I wanted to consume. And in this case, it was an Indian flavor, a chicken tikka masala. And
Hmm.
I was like, okay, it sounds amazing, but it was so incredibly hard for me to get that food into my stomach because the flavor was so heavy, and it was just too much for how hard of a
Yeah.
day hiking that I had had. And the friend that I was hiking with, he knew that I had one of these with me, and he's like, in the morning as I was consuming this as part of my breakfast, he was like, man, you probably should have had that for dinner. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have, because it would have been an easier thing to consume and get the calories as opposed to those like crazy intense flavors of a tikka masala, you know?
Yeah, and I was very deliberate that to make it, I guess, sweet enough where it was kind of like a sweet treat. And I think studies have actually shown when they were looking at mountaineering and especially kind of high altitude activities that you
Hmm.
have this additional, even more of a craving of sugary foods, and so that was a consideration. But I also just didn't want. I mean, there's everybody knows there's like that kind of instinctive like protein uh, shake taste that can often be really artificial and overpowering.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
also didn't want to do that. So it was like this really fine balance between the two. And as much as I do love chicken tiki masala, yeah, I think that's a hard bargain if you're in certain environments for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So from a customer standpoint, like who, when you were first developing this, like you've mentioned a high like alpine athletes, mountaineers, and climbers and such, but let's talk just a general weekend warrior kind of backpacker, since that's a lot of the audience of who is here on my channel. Is this a product that is right for them? Like how does that fit into the use case of, I'm going out on a weekend trip, I might be doing 15 to maybe 40 miles of hiking. Where does this fit in the use case of fueling or the calories needed for that trip?
Yeah. Um, so we first started out, and I will caveat this by saying that I actually, when I first started this journey, I was far. I mean, I certainly appreciated and kind of looked after my own nutrition, but did not come from that background, and so it was a lot of education on my end. But I also knew that
Hmm.
I did not have the subject matter expertise to design it. So I worked with a couple of top endurance sports nutritionists. One of
Oh, cool.
whom was yeah, one of whom was the nutritionist for the Steelers, had done a bunch of different work with endurance athletes and special operations. And then the other, I was in grad school at the time. And so he was in their nutrition department. So really relied on them. And I would actually say that, oftentimes when we get input from more serious athletes about how to incorporate RecPak, it ends up being how can RecPak support their existing very highly tuned diets, in which case it is a lot more customization. Whereas I think that if you are using it for your weekend adventures, it ends up being almost much more straightforward because you don't have to customize it with other aspects of your nutrition. We
Okay.
designed it so that it has so it's a pretty basic macro ratio. So it's 2-1-1 carbs, fats, and proteins.
Okay.
And 700 calories is hit before, and then there's a custom vitamin mineral mix that generally provides 25% of your daily micronutritional requirements. So it actually is much more of this generalist, I guess you could say, uh, product than something that is super tuned for, or fine tuned for certain activities. And I can certainly get into the ratios, ingredients, and the rationale behind that. But yeah, I actually think it's easier to be a weekend warrior and use RecPak.
Cool. So I guess the idea is like, if I am on the trail, I'm moving, and I just want the calories, then this is going to work for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think it
Whether
makes
that's hiking or mountain biking or road cycling, like any, if I'm out like working my body and I need the calories and I need the fuel, then like this fits the mold.
Yeah, yeah. We generally, I think, in our initial effort, we've made it much more of a much more of our focus towards usually like multi-day type activities, just because those are generally the ones in which every ounce matters a lot more. Whereas, even if you're going on like a 12 or 18-hour hike, that's certainly, it can be a grind, but you can still take a sandwich and
Oh, sure.
your your own, stuff like that. So there's less of the necessity to count every ounce, and where something like this is really going to be a necessity as opposed to potentially like a nice to have.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just looking at some of the nutrition facts on the back here. 42 grams of protein, so like great protein content for the 700 calories, which all the three flavors, each of them are 700 calories, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Really
and
the only
then
difference. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna like call out some of the other things here. 91 grams of carbohydrates and 590 milligrams of sodium, which I think that's cool to see. There seems to be a lot of focus right now coming from people about uh, different like electrolyte supplements and stuff, but just making sure you're like taking care of your hydration and how important that is. So I think that's helpful to see that it's not like 100 milligrams of sodium, but you're like the actual hydration aspect is happening in addition to the carbs and the protein. So you're fueling and hydrating at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, and then we did not. I mean, 590 grams ends up being around 25%. We actually might up that to like 30%, just because you do need a bit more when you're out there. But we also did not want to go overboard with some of the micronutrients. I mean, and that's kind of what
Mm.
I was talking about before, where if we supported quite a few ultra runners, and when I'm talking to them, oftentimes they ask about how can they, like, is this something where they can replace some of their drink mixes with RecPak, and generally, I think those are going to provide a certain level of electrolytes that they need, that we just, again, because it is more of just like a generalist product that, so that's not something that I would advise just replacing what they have entirely. But going back to the, if you're a weekend warrior, yeah, you generally don't. People end up thinking that they need more than they actually do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. I did a podcast interview similar to this with the founders of Tailwind Nutrition. And that was a very like aha moment for me of actually how electrolytes fit within your how much your body actually needs, what at what point do you need that additional like electrolyte supplement and help and everything. So it's a question of, is it just marketing and that's why you're using it, or where does it fall in line of the actual use case of it being beneficial for you to take on the trail. So
Right, right.
yeah.
And these days, America's addicted to proteins, so there's always something.
Yeah. A little bit of a tangent question from like a packaging standpoint. If I'm because of the, I wouldn't say that this is like an odd shape or a unique size, but if you're somebody that's like a trail runner or is repackaging and using with a like running style vest type of reservoir, if this doesn't fit in my like shoulder pouch stuff, is the consistency of it available that I can, or is such that I can put it into here and it's not going to clog
Hmm.
up my straw and that kind of thing?
I think if you have enough water and you shake it well enough, just depends on the size of the straw. But that's actually, yeah, there's a few things to that. One is I would like to introduce a more of like a stick pack variant or a bulk variant,
Mm, okay.
just because either both the shape is prohibitive for some activities, and then also um, I, for somebody who is very minimalist and abhors the world's plastic use, I sometimes I find it morally questionable about having a a consumer packaged good company, but that's another conversation. But I would like to have a more of a bulk option. um, when we started with this form factor, because it was really to be designed for those kinds of activities where, again, like you could add it to an if you added powder to an Nalgene or your bladder or something like that, it's totally fine if you're then able to clean it out
Hmm.
that day. But if you're, again, doing activities where you can't have that, then that's going to potentially be a big problem. So we wanted something where, all you needed was the pack and some water. But totally recognize that there are other activities where that's not the case. And so, yeah, we have quite a few of our users who will just buy the packs for the powder and then put it in um, Ziploc bags and stuff like that. And eventually, as I said, I would want to get to a point at which we have a product at which, yeah, you don't have to do that. You just get a little scooper. Um, so I think if you are able to clean it out within a reasonable time frame, then it would work. And then also, it totally works for something like Nalgene. I would test it out with a smaller amount if you have something, if it's like a bladder or if you have a straw, because yeah, just depending on the consistency, that could be a bit difficult.
Yeah, just and part of that question is a little bit selfish from the sense that I am getting ready to go do the Uinta Highline Trail,
Oh,
and
cool.
like I'm gonna bring these, But obviously, from like an ultralight or lightweight backpacking mindset, if I can reduce the amount of packaging that I am taking on the trail and the amount of weight that's carried, and I can take like 3 packs of vanilla chai, put it all into a single Ziploc, and then just mix it into the one of these, then that is a bit more reusable. So, um, just I don't know, different use cases, different ways of using the product, and I think it's just a fun part of the conversation to see how something that is like just in a powder form can be utilized in different ways. Like, are people taking it and like adding it to an oatmeal or any other kind of meal like you might with like a protein powder, or is it simply only add water, shake it up, and drink it?
I've heard people adding it to their coffee,
Okay.
to um, milk. I don't know if people have added it to oatmeal, but I don't see why not. Yeah, go for it. I think
Give it a
coffee is a
try. Give
bold
it a
choice.
try.
Adding coffee to coffee is a bold choice because the coffee is the one that's caffeinated. It's got 150
Mm,
milligrams of caffeine. So
yeah,
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 add that to your coffee.
yeah. So
When are you
there's
going on the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so I'm doing the High Line towards the end of the summer, and shooting for 6 or 7 days. So pretty big miles, and that's where like I'm excited to be taking these with, because I did a trip just a couple weeks ago, big 16-mile day. It was hot, a lot of off trail or through a lot of burn area. It was pretty gnarly hiking, and this absolutely was so nice to have as I started hiking and not have a gut bomb, but actually feel like I was fueling or not having to like eat a bunch of supplementary snacks through the day for me to feel like I had the calories that I needed to go up the pass for the day, and not feel like I'm also so hungry by the time I get to lunch that I'm playing catch up for the rest of the day.
Awesome. Well, we actually just came out with a newer packaging. So if you want to do some guinea pig testing, I'll send you some packs, and you can add it to your oatmeal as well, and let me know. And
Yeah.
your chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, I'm not sure how like vanilla chai
That
would
could be,
would would
you
match with
know,
that, but
they do the whole sweet and savory thing, so you never know.
yeah. So right now you've got chocolate
Mm-hmm.
and vanilla chai and coffee.
Yeah.
What else is there any insider info on other flavors coming out that people can
I'd
look
like to
forward to? Or
do some sort of mixed berry something. I don't know. What do you think I should do? What's your favorite?
I of these three, the vanilla chai is my favorite, but I could also see just like a standard vanilla without
Mm,
that like kind of spiciness that you get from the chai. But
got it.
it's genuinely delicious.
Oh,
Yeah,
good to hear. Thank you.
yeah.
What fruits? What's your favorite fruit?
Oh, I'm a big raspberry guy. So like
Mm,
raspberries, blueberries, in strawberries, kind of in that world.
okay. Yeah, we could do some sort of mixed berry thing. I don't think we would do blue raspberry. That's a weird concept that the food industry, the candy industry, made up just because they didn't want to confuse people with
Yeah,
strawberry.
I'm
But
pretty sure blue raspberry is just a dye. It's not actually.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, they. Yeah. I want to talk about shelf life with this, and um, just kind of going back to a little bit of the use case, because on the packaging here it says for best consistency, let it settle for a few minutes after shaking. Um, any particular reason for that?
Because we don't use any emulsifiers or anything like that, and so it sometimes just takes, and because the ingredient mix is a bit more complex than your protein shake, it just will often take just a little bit more to get good consistency, in the sense that
Okay.
sometimes people, they'll shake it up and then they'll immediately down it, and then there'll be, a bit of maybe soft clumping. And so I just recommend, I mean, that could be fine if you, depending on your consistency that you enjoy, but um, yeah, just generally recommend, if you want more of a like straight liquid, just to wait a few minutes.
Gotcha. So then after water has been mixed with it, it says hot weather, it's good for a few hours, moderate weather, 2 days, and cold weather, 4 days. What is that?
Yeah.
What does that entail? Like, how is that important, or why why would I want to mix water and then carry it like that for 2 days at a time and not consume it?
Oh, I don't think that you would. I mean, yeah, I don't think that you would, but
Okay.
sometimes we do get, that's not necessarily recommended, but sometimes we do get folks that if they, maybe they throw it in their pack and they're wondering, okay, if I forget about this, or if I've got other nutritional options
Mm,
for the rest of the day, how long is this going to keep for? So it's kind of like
gotcha.
shelf life. It's more of a, recommendation than an actual hard deadline.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, moderate weather could be defined as many different things, but
sure.
I guess that's nice. That like in the sense of mix it in the morning, have it later on the trail, especially if I know I'm not going to have access to water later, and then I can mix it, have it ready to go, and not have to deal with I'm out of water and everything,
Right.
which is nice. So, is there anything else that's like really key that people should know about the product and the use of it?
Well, we didn't talk about this, but if you want to give your audience a discount code, a special discount code, I'd be happy to do that, just to get more folks to try it. I would say, other than that, I mean, we're a super scrappy small company. It's, sometimes people are, and I'm going to hype myself up here because I think that our branding looks really good and professional, like our website and our social media and everything. But then you start realizing that it's just three people that's operating this basically in their garage. Um, so just like you,
I know
Devin, with your,
my
so I,
garage door just opened for my daughter getting home.
well, well, that was like that was
We
some
planned
perfect
that.
timing right
We
there.
planned for that to happen.
um, so yeah, no, we're a really small, company that just consists of folks who just really love the outdoors and providing a product, that, we hope people, really use and love, and that it can support their adventures and, yeah, what they're doing professionally, if they're in something like search and rescue. And then also, we are, very much about giving back, which is
Hmm.
often difficult if you're a small brand, because oftentimes I'll see, others, all their brands, and I am all about, kudos to them. But if they're like, hey, we're, going to be whatever donating X percentage to a certain cause, and like if you're, uh, just trying to get your, feet off the ground, and, where every day is a new challenge, that can be really tough to actually do something with an impact.
Right.
But I really have always wanted to make that, a core part of who we are. So, we are members of, 1% for the Planet. So we've
Cool.
partnered with a couple of different, conservation organizations, the Conservation Alliance and Access Fund,
Hmm.
both of which are really amazing. Conservation Alliance, they, fund, local conservation efforts. So they got a number of projects that every year their members get to vote on, which is super cool. And then the Access Fund is providing access to outdoor lovers and climbers. And then
Which,
we also
just to interject for a second, like I love that is who it just part of your overall mission as a company with my brand as well. I donate to Conservation Alliance, which I appreciate what they do as an organization, making it so easy to reach out to your local representatives to like share your feelings on various issues and stuff that are coming up. But yeah, that's awesome. And from my climbing background, have done some stuff with the Access Fund as well, and so great
awesome.
organizations. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Eli turned us on to Access Fund, so
Oh, cool.
thankful to
Yeah.
him. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we also are members of AAC and AMGA, which is cool in that, yeah, it's good to be able to support the core communities that keep us going. So, and then we also support more on an ad hoc basis outdoor veteran and youth organizations with product and things like that. So it's like one of those things where we're still super small, but and it's baby steps. But I really do believe in having that as part of as a very core part of who we are.
I love that. I love that. And I love the fact too that with a lot of brands, people appreciate when they know that a product is backed by experience and a like genuine passion for in the outdoor industry, that let's create a product that isn't just from a big corporation and let's see how much money we can make from it. Obviously making money as a business is important, but it's also like sharing your passion, right? So it's cool that we started the conversation of you saying you're leaving on a ski trip to Chile. Like obviously you spend time in the mountains, you're doing this, you're using the product and experiencing it that way. Is there any like crazy or wild adventure stories of trips that you've been on that would be a fun story to share with everybody?
Hmm. It's interesting. I'm very thankful in that I get to. So I have to just travel a lot, just inherently as part of, um, uh, mostly for work, also
Hmm.
often for fun, but a lot of times it's for work. And so I'll go to just very random places. And in each place that I go to, I try and do some sort of outdoor activity, even if it's a destination that you just not think of at all. So, like as an example, last week I had this meeting in Oklahoma, and yeah, you're like,
not
for one,
not
it
the
was
mecca for outdoor recreation, right?
no, although there is some climbing out there, but yeah, it was 97 degrees every day. And but I got to go to the Wichita Mountains, which are not mountains; they're hills. But it was this very unique cultural experience because they were one of the first places where bison were reintroduced, as well
Oh,
as that
cool.
whole area is yeah, and so in the whole area is where it was a real transit point. It's got a ton of history. It's a real transit point for settlers that are moving from east to west, and then there's also the Great Plains, Native American tribes
Right.
that have a very strong presence there, and they actually have a museum there that got to go to, and so it's those kind of cool experiences where, yeah, like I would never otherwise be in a position where I'm in the middle of Oklahoma and just amongst, it's kind of like, yeah, I went to Yellowstone during, I think it was last winter, and it's super cool because you get to see the bison, and you kind of
Hmm.
expect that. You're like, of course, yeah, of course it's epic because
Right,
it's
right.
Yellowstone. But
Yeah,
having that where there's no other tourists or anything like that, and it's just you in this very still pretty remote area. And so it's those kinds of like pretty cool adventures that ultimately I think are super memorable. But yeah, and then there's of course there's stuff like skiing in Chile, which that's just going to be awesome and epic regardless.
yeah. What part of Chile are you? Are you climbing any mountains? Are you doing
No, it's just I've
anything?
never been. I mean, I went down to Colombia a few um, years ago. That's kind of an interesting adventure. Or we ended up taking the very first RecPak prototypes because they have a. It's not quite Machu Picchu level, but they
Hmm.
call it La Ciudad Perdida, where there was this civilization that disappeared hundreds of years ago. It wasn't they, and they didn't disappear due to Spanish colonialism. Um, I forget why they disappeared, or maybe we don't know. But anyway, very very interesting. Uh, uh, Place that requires it's like this 2 day hike out in the jungle, and this was in December, and it was like I cannot imagine the rainforest in July, because in December it was nuts. It was, I mean, it was incredible and beautiful because you have all this life around you, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is a unforgiving place, but also just very unique. I mean, I find there's the your outdoor activities where you have just straight type 2 fun, and it's just a pure physical challenge, and then
Right.
there's these other activities like in Oklahoma or this where you just inherently there's history and culture involved. Like we were hiking past these native villages that looked like they had been untouched for hundreds of years, and yeah, it's just very very unique. So anyway, that was a long segue from that was this is the first time that I've been to South America other than that trip, and so I just as sort of my first foray, it's just going to be a week of skiing, which you know I was fortunate in that I got a long season in, and so I think the last time I went was like late May or something like that. But it'll definitely be
Mm.
good to shake the rust off. So
I love that actually. I sometimes I think you ask those questions and you expect this like big, huge, grandiose, like I was on Lhotse or Everest and doing this extreme thing and had this crazy experience. But I relate to that from the sense that a couple years ago I went to the Marshall Islands and I had never been to uh, any of the Pacific Islands before. And the Marshall Islands are very unique with an incredible amount of history. And I was like, I don't even know where the Marshall Islands are. And Central Pacific, halfway between Hawaii and Australia. And then the like reminder of all of the nuclear bomb testing that took place
that's what I was going
in
to ask about.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so a cultural and historical uh, experience as well, like not necessarily this big crazy outdoor adventure, but seeing something for the first time, experiencing it for the first time, and it creates that like concrete memory of what that culture is, the people, and sometimes those are as important as the wild adventures that we plan for ourselves to go in on a backpacking trip or a climbing trip or whatever it is.
totally. I actually just recently saw a just a short documentary on that and that's where I was wondering if it was the Marshall Islands, but yeah, they I remember they have this, it's a beautiful tropical island in the middle. There's this huge concrete dome of
Mm-hmm.
essentially where they just put all the nuclear
Oh,
material and just essentially just paved over it. Interestingly enough, also random, just part of my just my random trips. I've been to God, what is it? It's in what is it? White Sands National Park. So I've been there once before, but I'm going to be in that area again. I'm going to have the opportunity to go to the Trinity site, which is where they did the first nuclear bomb test.
Yeah.
So I'm
Okay.
going to check that out in September. So yeah, it's just yeah, interesting times.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Deed, thanks for taking time. Thanks for sharing about RecPak, about your experience and how the brand came to be and everything. Where's the best place for people to? I'll have links in the description of where people can go, and we'll create a a discount code that we can drop in there as well. But where
Cool.
can people find you?
Yeah, so we're mostly online through our website, on Amazon, and then we are in about 30 independent uh, brick and mortar stores. So climbing, hiking, hunting across 6 states at this point. But yeah, so if you have a favorite shop and we are not in it, either let them know and then
Cool.
reach out and let me know, and we'll try and get RecPak sold there. Otherwise, yeah, just through our website, and we'll give you guys a good discount.
Yeah, which is recpack.co,
Yes,
right?
that's right. I
Yeah.
couldn't do recpack.com. It's some sort of recycling company in Eastern Europe or something like that. So,
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Deed, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing about the brand, and encourage everybody to go give it a try. It's delicious. I've enjoyed it, and awesome product. So thank you.
thanks, Devin. It's been a lot of fun.